DAPTIME Sports. Game time. Full episodes can be found at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at www.itsdaptime.com. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram at DAPTIME21, Twitter at DAP_time, and Facebook at DAPTIME. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube at DAPTIME TV. Thank you for your continued support. As always, we're proud to partner with Harrell Eyewear, makers of fine eyewear for all occasions. Please go to www.harrelleyewear.com. Also, look out for the new line, Never Lose Your Identity. It's time.
What up? What up? What's happening? Welcome back to another episode of Game Time. I am your boy AJ, and always accompanied by my right hand man, Big Dan, the one and only. And the groove is being provided by in-house maestro, the incomparable one, always dropping it on the one. Nice. Three of us are delighted to welcome you back to this episode of Game Time, our version of sports and sports-related topics and our opinions on the same. This episode, we're going to dig into a little bit of a mix of things that definitely we have a feeling about. Touch on Rodgers. Yeah. Deshaun Watson. Absolutely have opinions there. But the main event is the one you're going to want to stick around for. Mental health within the sports world today. So sit back, relax. Definitely time for you to lace them up. Get into the center of the ring. Ding, ding. What up, Big Dang?
What's happening, bro? How you feeling, man?
Man, ready to touch them up and get to it.
Okay. All is well. All is well. I'm glad to hear that.
What's good with you?
I'm good, man. Blessed, man. You know me.
I know that. You got your robe on, got the choir with you. You ready to do it?
You know, we about to pass collection around in a little bit, get the building fund taken care of, but it's all love though.
There's always a building fund that needs some attention, no doubt.
For sure.
Look, man, want to get right to it. We talked a few weeks ago briefly about, which I think we've purposely avoided, the Aaron Rodgers drama, soap opera, and for various reasons. And there's several parts of this conversation to touch on. So I want to dedicate the tip off to, not the tip off, but this on the wire to this, because today's breaking news, Aaron Rodgers reports to camp. After weeks of everybody speculating he won't, after his statement that he didn't want to be a Packer no more, which was leaked by somebody who was in the know. Mm-hmm. He reports to training camp. And it's also reported that the Packers and Aaron Rodgers are close to a deal, some sort of extension. Now, people are saying it's a 1-year extension and a souped up deal. I know they wanted to do 2 years. Maybe, there's some conversation about him doing one last dance kind of thing. I just want to, there's so much there to unpack, and I've got feelings about it, obviously, as a fan, but want to throw it your way and see overall, what are your thoughts and feelings about the drama that has been, whether Aaron Rodgers will be a Packer or not?
Well, I mean, here's, I'll give you a little background on my positioning, right? I've always been the type of individual, in any job I've ever had, any endeavor I've ever been involved in, I try to position myself in a way that's most advantageous to me. That's just how I've always done it. I think everybody should. I've never been a yes man. I've never just been a get along, go along type of guy on the job. I'm gonna, if favor comes my way, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that guy that's going to sit around by the water cooler and complain about favoritism and this, that. I'm trying to find, my spots, and I'm trying to get where I need to get. So I personally am for anybody seizing as much control of their career as they can, whether I like you, dislike you, whatever the case may be. In this case with Aaron Rodgers, I think that's exactly what he's doing. Now, there's some other aspects that are going on around the whole story that I can't necessarily blame him for.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I really can't blame him. He's doing what he should do. I mean, you tell, if you're an athlete, right? your career is already going to be shorter than most, than anybody, as an athlete, so you can only do that for so long. He's blessed to have been a quarterback for years, 16, 17 years he's been in the league
Something
already,
like that.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So he's blessed to have had that opportunity. Remained fairly healthy. He's healthy now. Your body takes the beating. You take all the risks on the field. Now you're paid handsomely for it, mind you. But why not? If you can position yourself to hold all the cards, go for it. That's how I feel about it. By the look on your face, you disagree.
Look, here's my thing, right? And I'm gonna keep it just to him. Aaron Rodgers, I think I saw a number. He's made well over $240 million for his career thus far. So, yeah, he's been paid handsomely. When I look at what Green Bay has done to support him, I think you can question certain moves for sure. But, and I think people focus on these most recent moves, but when I look at what he's been able to do with what he's been given, I have a hard time questioning those moves. Maybe not the name brand receivers that, you would look out there and say, why hasn't he gotten this guy? Why hasn't he gotten that guy? But he's been able to make receivers careers with what he's been able to do. And so I struggle. He's had one of the best offensive lines for years. Bakhtiari is highly touted tackle in the league. His line is held up. He hasn't. I mean, you look at Ben Roethlisberger. You look at some of the other quarterbacks who've taken hits. He hasn't had to go through that. So I can't really question. You haven't had him every year after year complaining that I don't have what I need in resources. He signed a contract.
Right.
He signed the contract he's playing under. At the time, he was happy to sign that contract. So now I have to compare the situation and say, T.O. plays on a broken ankle to get the Eagles where he needs to go. And he turns into a pariah because he's asking the question, hey, can we renegotiate this?
Right.
Looks like my value should be adjusted. And I'm not in that pool, but the media turns T.O. into a crybaby. He's a problem in the locker room. I mean, there's questions about it. And so I asked the question at a time when the world seems to be all about equity, right? Dak has to break his ankle to get the deal done. Aaron Rodgers suggests he might not want to play there. And all of a sudden we got to throw out our plans. We got to prioritize him. We got to capitulate to this dude. I mean, it's, and he deserves it. We find a way to be understanding for this guy. And I'm of the mind that most people are. Quarterback arm talent, what he's done on the field, the moments he's been able to compile, just miraculous wins, no doubt. One ring. The moments he had a chance in the NFC Championship to get it done, the team chose to do what was the right thing to do. Like we got to get the guarantee points. On the off chance that you don't get it done on fourth down, we got to go and take the points with the field goal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's the right play. And so to suggest that the coach should have put his decision making, Aaron Rodgers' decision making, over his own interest for the team.
Right.
And that's the reason why Aaron Rodgers has every right to want to hold the team hostage for more money. That just doesn't sit well with me, because if Aaron Rodgers, we all know, was Warren Moon or Randall Cunningham or Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson.
There you go.
What would be his fate, right? What would the media and the fans say then? I heard somebody say this, and it was the first. I think it was Freddie Coleman, but it's the first person I heard actually articulate it out loud, or it might have been Dominic Foxworthy. You've got Deshaun Watson, may be the best out of the pocket and in the pocket, on schedule and off schedule quarterback talent in the game today.
Right.
That's over Lamar Jackson. That's over Pat Mahomes. Like, as a runner and as a thrower, you're hard pressed to say there's anyone better.
Right.
And he's right in that same league. But because he's tired of seeing, he's doing an Aaron Rodgers, tired of seeing this stuff, all of a sudden, mysteriously, there's this garbage. And I know we're going to get to that in the tip off, so I don't want to mix stories. But I'm just saying I struggle with how this has played out and how the media has seemed to be so understanding of his case when I don't think he's been done wrong.
So I agree with what you just said for the most part. But I think your issue, based on what I'm hearing you say, your issue is with the system. Your issue is not necessarily, I mean, you may have your own issues with Aaron Rodgers as well, but we're talking about a system. The way
I never said that.
Possibly, maybe a little bird might have told me something. But the system, I mean, the media, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there's definitely a double standard. There's definitely two worlds we're living in, right? So the media is definitely in the wrong, I feel, the way with where they shine light. You know what I mean? But I can't blame him for that. You know what I mean? There may be situations where there's a lot of this that's unfair. But my thing is, I can't blame him. He, as a man, all I can say, whether you agree with it or not, he's in a position to, he signed a contract, but at the same time, so did the team. But the team can turn around and say, you know what? We decided to go a different direction at any time and pack his locker up. They can do that, right? So for that reason, again, I'm for player empowerment. I'm not saying it's the most principled thing to do, to go around signing contracts and jumping out of them the next, but business is business. And so when it comes down to a man handling his business, I have no problem with him playing it the way he wants to play it. Now, be careful. Don't play yourself out of position.
Well, let me throw this back at you. Because one of the popular things we talk about, so we got all these popular catchphrases when we talk about equity right now.
Right.
And one of the popular phrases when it comes to equity right now is white privilege.
Okay.
And, we call it everywhere we see it.
Right.
That's white privilege. Aaron, so what you're describing is white privilege.
Probably is, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm saying it bothers me to see all of these media pundits
playing right into it. Yeah.
Especially those of color going along to get along.
Again, I agree with that. But I'm just saying, let's point it at the right place, because we can't point that at Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that's that, and I'm okay with that. So that's part of maybe me being the sounding board for it, because I'm saying we can call white privilege on the job, we can call white privilege in politics, we can call white privilege in government, but because a person of color has been saying for years he's a bad man, and everybody likes that. We're not going to call this white privilege, but it is white privilege. And to me, it's our responsibility, if we're going to put a mic in our faces and get out and say something, to be fair. Now, if Aaron Rodgers was, an average quarterback and doing this, maybe they would do it. But because he's such a face of the league, he's one of the many faces of the league. He is so talented. There's all this hope. He's playing for a storied franchise. He probably will go down as one of the best quarterback talents ever seen. When he hangs, and there's a possibility, because of how close they were last year, the speculation is that they could eclipse that and do even better this coming year, maybe get a Super Bowl ring. Well, hey, let's not rock the boat. No, that's white privilege. And we expect more of the leaders of the league. Now, is that fair? Maybe not. but you got to be fair, especially when we know if he was a brother, we'd be coming down. They would be coming down so hard on him for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that does happen. I guess in that aspect, when you look at it like that, again, that's a systemic issue, and we've touched on that before. You know what I'm saying? It happens all the time. It's been happening. The same systemic issues that you deal with on the job, on the workplace, in your everyday 9 to 5, they deal with them in the NFL. That's another corporation, another entity where people are employed. Anytime, any environment you have where there are people of different colors, different creeds, different opinions, whatever, there's going to be separation, and it's not going to be overt. It's going to be, under the table. It's going to be, let me look out for who I want to look out for, and let me ostracize who I don't want to look out for. That's it's just going to happen until we go home. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to be like that. So I get what you're saying, and I agree. And I think, and I do. One thing that you did touch on is that there are people of color that are pushing the envelope. You know what I mean? That's the sad part. You talk about house people, right? Right. I mean, that was a term that was used to describe
Steven. We'll call him Steven from Django.
Hey, man, you said that. I didn't, but I feel you. But I'm just saying, like that. It's the same thing. It's like you got into a position, through no fault of your own, through hard work. You got into a position, but then somewhere along the line, things get convoluted and you're weaponized against your own. And I think initially you probably don't even realize what's happening, but I don't know. I mean, I find it very odd that turns out like that.
Well, let me take some of the stank off of it, or some of the sting out of it. I'm not even making, this isn't about whether or not Aaron Rodgers should have the right to do it, or they need to make a cause out of it. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that the conversation is important. Mm-hmm. So maybe it doesn't do anything to impact or affect Aaron Rodgers' journey, because the truth is Aaron Rodgers was going to do what Aaron Rodgers was going to do all along. He has that. You're 100% right. He has to look out for himself, his family's legacy, their financial security. If he has the opportunity to improve his financial status even more, by all means, you can get another 20, 30 million out of him. Go ahead and do it, bro. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not counting your money. I'm a grown man. What you get is what you need. You should get everything you can, because I'm definitely going to try to get everything I can if the opportunity is there for me. What I'm saying is that the conversation is important, because none of us know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. What we do know is if this thing pans out the way it is. Right now, we know that there are civil cases that he's fighting, which says that the criminal case could not be upheld. That tells us that much. Mm-hmm. We know that, and we're going to get more into this, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But whether it's him or others we've seen, it seems to be that when a black athlete comes up and says, hey, I think I deserve more than what I signed for when I signed for it, and I want to renegotiate, that there's more effort put in to tearing down the why behind that athlete and somehow making them earn it more. And what they've done to this point doesn't matter. And if the people of color in position with bigger platforms don't make the conversation important, who will? There's not a million people tuning in to our show today. So how do you get the minds of those people in position to shift and see, hey, maybe we need to take a harder line here, or maybe we have a greater responsibility to elevate and show this is how white privilege looks? Because when you talk about it in the workplace, in your workplace, my workplace, in the everyday person's workplace, and you point out white privilege, people get dumb all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. They don't have a high school education. What you mean by white privilege? How that, you know what I'm saying? Like, how's that? No, ain't no white privilege. Yes, there is. Right. And so when you say that a man who's made $245 million, who's playing 2 years into a contract that he signed for $155 million, is unhappy with his compensation.
Well, now, so if we're going to say that though, because here's the thing: if we're going to say that, then we have to look at, not getting ahead of myself, the Deshaun Watson situation where he was just asked, same thing. He had just signed a $150-some million contract. I want out. I don't want to be here anymore. He had his reasons. Whether you agree with him or not, as a man, he has every right to position himself, right? Now, I'm not going to get into everything else that came after he asked for the trade. Ironically, right after he asked for the trade, but that's neither here nor there. But I think what was happening is the problem, you talk about changing it or acknowledging that the privilege exists, or that something has to be done to balance the playing field there. I'm pretty sure that the president of the Players Union is a black man. Most of the hierarchy of the Players Union, those hierarchy of officers in that organization are black men, I would think. I'm pretty sure. There's the majority of the league is black. You do have quite a few black coaches in the NFL now. Not enough, I don't think, but you have a few in there. And you have a few executives, So no owners, though. But the problem is this. As long as we'll go for the banana in the tailpipe, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? If you can have a Black Lives Matter sale and on Black Friday and we're putting all this money into, we're going to put Black Lives, we'll go from Kaepernick, you can't kneel. Nobody can kneel. You're doing too much, to, Black Lives Matter. Oh man, racism, let's end racism. Let's stop all of this. This police brutality has to stop. Right. What happened? I mean, like, we're talking a couple years later, you know what I'm saying? We're not, so we have somebody in position has to be willing to position themselves for the greater good. That's what it's going to take.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, it's going to take, a Jackie Robinson, and people talk about Jackie Robinson. They say, well, and I'm sure there were other players that were probably better than Jackie Robinson. He was just the one that I remember when I was out there last year, and Los let it be known that he wasn't the man. He wasn't the man. I get it. But,
Lieutenant Wolf Perry Sr.
Yes, sir.
May you rest in peace.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for that story.
Absolutely. But however, I think the thing about it is, the thing you do have to give to Jackie is, he had to go play in a foreign element around people that didn't want him there, be ostracized on the team, but ostracized. I'm sure that's a different kind of struggle and challenge that he had to go through. He could have said, I'm just going to stay here, play with my people where I'm comfortable. I can be the man. I can play, you know what I'm saying? But he did that, and he endured that. And because he endured that, it opened doors for other people, for another generation. You know what I'm saying? And now the Major League Baseball league is probably predominantly minority, Black, Cuban, Hispanic, whatever. So I think that's when in football, there's so much money being passed around. It's just going to take somebody to say, regardless of the money, regardless of whatever, we're going to stand on what's right. How many times do you see the CBA agreement come around? They're negotiating, and then they come to an agreement. Okay, great. They're not going on strike. They came to agreement. But then before the season's even over, people are complaining about the deal. Or by the next offseason, they're complaining about the deal. Oh, it locks us in. There's no guaranteed contract. There's all these things that they want that they're not getting. That tells me that you're not negotiating right, because technically the players have the power, and the players are predominantly Black. So,
technically there may be the power, but again, I think that's where, again, white privilege has to be. The players have the power, but the media have influence, right? They're like a charger,
sure,
to that power, and they can charge over, because the real power, the players have some power, but the real power is in the hands of the fans. And so,
Right.
if fans are not, are intolerable of the treatment of players, and they start affecting the bottom line, then you really have something. And, it's not going to happen with one instance. People are still complaining about Kaepernick to this day, even though what he said in that very first conversation in the locker room has never changed.
Right.
I'm not doing this for the police. Or I'm not doing this against the military. This is my personal stance against police brutality in direct response to some things that he had become aware of. And the media took something and ran with it irresponsibly.
Sure.
And weaponized what was positive and made it negative with a fan base, a segment of the fan base that was ready to be like, well, how dare this black man who's being paid a lot of money take a stance against this? That's not what we coming for.
Right.
Well, he was using the platform the right way. Maybe you can question the application, but in the end, he was using his platform to bring awareness to something that we have since seen is a much bigger issue. It's just now become a bigger spotlight is on it. So there's that. It's like the media has not learned that if we get behind the right things the right way, we can be influencers of change for good. And again, Aaron Rodgers is doing everything he's supposed to do. Get your money, man. Do what you play the game the way you need to be in the position to enjoy your job and reap the rewards of it, so that when you can't play anymore, you can look back and say, I got everything out of it I should. But the media has a responsibility to say, hey, nothing wrong with him doing that. However, the fact that the Packers are handling it this way, more than whether or not they did the right things to put the relationship in the right way, they are really shining a light on white privilege. Because if Aaron Rodgers was Jordan Love in this instance, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. At all. Let him sit out. Let him pay $50,000. I mean, there would be none of this. If you don't want to play, that's fine. And that's the best case scenario, because he could be, and it's a great point to segue into our tip off, he could be Deshaun Watson. Real quick, Big Dan, want to give a quick shout out to our other partners. How we feeling? Continuing to revolutionize the way that we engage online, all about authentic journeys. If you have time in your life, you're trying to learn a new hobby, or you're trying to pick up a new language, or you're trying to get fit, or any other area in your life where you know it's going to be a bit of a journey, How We Feeling has a community of users just like you that are interested in the same. So visit their website, www.howwefeelingonline, and start a new journey today. Everybody's got a story. Just change where you're sharing yours online today. Big Dame, time for the tip off. In the vein of what we've been talking about, we've alluded to it. Other news, Deshaun Watson reported to camp this week.
Yep.
I think people were wondering, would he report to camp, how that would go. Haven't heard from Deshaun directly per se, but getting more insight into his off the field, what has been his off the field story. 10 now, all of a sudden, now there are 10 police complaints against him. Out of, I guess, 8 amongst 8 of the 22 women who have civil suits against them. Ironic. I don't know how you go back and retro file complaints, but now these have surfaced. I'm just curious, man. We have followed this story, wondering what this is all about. At the same time, you hear in the small print, several teams are interested in trading for Deshaun Watson. So, and now all of a sudden, the Houston Texans are actually open to a trade. His name has been sullied. So it seems to me he is still fighting the civil suits. I don't think he's intent on paying anybody anything. Where are we on this story? Where are you?
I mean, I'm the same place I was from the beginning. I mean, I don't want to jump out the window and say, "Oh, he didn't do it," but I'm looking at what I see before my eyes, right? So, it seems like in today's day and time, to even allude to the fact that when a woman says she's been violated, if you even allude to the fact that maybe that's not true, what she's saying, maybe there's an ulterior motive, maybe whatever, you're ostracized, right? How dare you? She's a woman. You're right. She is a woman. She has rights, but let's not put our head in the sand and act like this does not happen on a fairly regular basis. I mean, there are
right.
There's opportunists out here that take advantage of a system that rewards them for making claims. It's the game. You make a claim, and then they have insurance to cover, so they can pay settlements, and boom, this is how it works, right? There are women who that's how they make their money. That's how they make their living. Not all, but they are out there. So let's not act like it's impossible that this may be all a farce. I'm looking at a guy who, up until this time, reputation was splendid. Not no smut on his jacket that I knew of, that I had ever heard of,
right,
at all.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying he's perfect. I don't know what he does in his personal time. He's a young man with a lot of money. I don't know what he does, but I had never heard of anything, not even so much as a traffic ticket, right? So all of a sudden, everybody speaks well of him. His peers seem to love him. They love playing with him. They love working with him. All of a sudden, he asked to be let out because this is the other part. He is a part of a fledgling organization that obviously has made a lot of weird moves lately, from
horrible moves. We can call them horrible,
from staff to players, right?
Right.
I mean, you're getting rid of one of the best receivers in the league right now. You just lost one of your former defensive players of the year, one of your best defender. You got a coach. You give him GM duties as well. This guy, he's gone. Who knows what he was doing, but it's just wild because we overlook all of that. We overlook all of what the common sense things that are right in front of us. And I almost think sometimes we've gotten too smart for our own good in this day and age. Like sometimes common sense is just that. It's common sense, right? Look at what's in front of you. 2 + 2 = 4 sometimes. But now we want to square it. We want to divide it. We want to times it. Right. We want to use the FOIL method, all this other stuff. And it's like, if you just look at what's right in front of you, it's not out of bounds to say maybe he's just caught up in a fraudulent situation. Maybe he's a victim of a scam. You know what I mean? Basically. And
if you were,
and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people that stand to benefit from this.
If you were the owner of a franchise, and your franchise quarterback is accused of 22 victims sexual assault, and you have any inkling from the facts that it might be true,
right?
Would you want to keep him?
Right. He's gone. If I know anything, if I have any factual information that lets me know, oh, he did this, I don't want you to be anywhere around me.
Would that be something you'd be like, well, if we can get the right compensation, does it matter? Mm-mm. Like, this dude is at 22 victims. This dude has a problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're out your guaranteed money, if he's going to force your hand and you want to reap some value, you're bitter. Maybe.
And let's go back to the privilege just for a second, not to cut you off, but if white privilege does exist, if there are these racial overtones within if there are these racial overtones within organizations,
there is.
Okay. Hypothetically speaking, how would you feel? How would an older white man feel from this young, rich, black man looking at him and saying, I don't want to work for you no more. Trade me. Get me out of here. That might be a hit to your ego if you've been used to kind of having it your way. I'm the boss. I'm the owner. You do what I say, boy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now here you are. Who you think you are? You looking at me like you can tell me what to do. Okay, I'll fix that. You know, and I'm not trying to I don't have any facts that the Texans are involved. But, you know, you got to look at all the angles, man. You got to look at all the angles.
Mike Lupica has written a few books, and I remember him writing one book. It was this basketball story. And in it, you know, and I think they're fictional novels based on things he's seen and heard around sports. But in this particular story, you could see like all these things the team's ownership did to know before stuff got out, right? Like of their star player. And, you know, I mean, I know enough. I've seen enough to know that, you know, private investigators are real. Background checks are real. You know, they're going to, smart ownership is going to do everything it's due diligence to stay on top of things. Mm-hmm. Now, there's no way what I'm seeing from Houston suggests smart ownership. Because any way I slice this, if you know and you're trying to help him get out clean, protect his future earning potential, that's suspect.
Right.
Because you're devaluing these women.
Right.
Who are alleging that he's victimized them. If you don't know and you haven't done due diligence to know, then you're irresponsible because he's your athlete, right? He's a member of your organization, and he's in a situation that you shouldn't even be considering putting him on the field. Like, bro, this is serious. And the only other option is that you know that this is all a farce, and now you're just trying to keep it from landing at your doorstep. And again, I mean, you and I we're not in the locker rooms. We're not talking to the players. But I think just sitting back and looking, you're like, this is a case of 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. Like their numbers are not adding up the right way.
Right.
And that to me is a concern, because just even seeing like, hey, he reported to camp, Houston's actually open to trades. What? Like, what? Yeah. And now you actually have criminal charges that could come. Now, they said criminal complaints have been filed, but there's still no charges. So, again, there's like all this stuff that is so suspect. Like, we went out of our way to sully his name, to tax him. And I think when we actually end up hearing, and it's sad, because short of him being found guilty, and even if he is found guilty in the civil, like, it's the margin is so much slimmer and lower. The burden of proof is so much lower in a civil case. Like, he may, if he pays a dime, he will be seen as a sexual predator,
right,
by many, because of how this has been handled.
Absolutely.
And what he may be found guilty of is really a proposition. Maybe. And a proposition that was received by someone who actually may or may not have went forward consensually. But now, because of the opportunity to get an extra buck, you know, and I'm not saying these women don't have legitimate cases, because I don't know. But the possibility of it is so much more real to me based on how things have been handled. And that can't be said. Like, people just feel like you can't have that conversation. And meanwhile, you know, Deshaun is in limbo.
Yeah. Yeah. It's It's a very strange situation, man. I hope he strikes me as the type to have stayed on his grind throughout. He doesn't strike me as the type that let it get him down, and I think he worked out throughout the whole time. And he's acting like an innocent man. You know what I mean? He's really acting like an innocent man. No, I'm not going to pay you. I'm going to continue to prepare for this season because I'm going to play because I haven't done anything wrong. I mean, that's how innocent people feel. Mm-hmm. So that's what I see out of him. So he strikes me as the type that I think if he stepped into camp, he stepped in ready to go. And he's smart enough to know the best way to beat this whole thing is to perform at the highest level. You know what I mean? And I think he'll do that. I hope he does that, and I hope he gets the trade he wants. You know, and I
let me throw a deal at you. I'm gonna throw a trade at you. Deshaun Watson to the New Orleans Saints for Jameis Winston.
They're not gonna take that deal. They're not gonna take that deal. They've already said they want like 3 high draft picks and other.
If you're the Saints, let's say if you're the Saints and you give them what they want, and Jameis,
you would have to come off of Jameis for Deshaun. That's not fair.
No, I'm saying so. You're New Orleans. You give up your next 2 years, first round pick, a third round pick in the third year, and Jameis Winston.
Maybe they're probably going to want Alvin Kamara too, though. They'll probably try to.
Would you do it? I would do it.
I don't know if I don't know, man. I don't know if I would give up Kamara. I would probably try to play for another, a different player because I think Kamara. I think New Orleans is a good spot for him to land, but I think with Kamara and Michael Thomas, I think that offense could be deadly.
Michael Thomas is out for 5 weeks this year.
He is, but Kamara can hold him down for a while. Yeah, I think that could be good. I think that could be really good. But I think he wants to go to one of his places he wanted to go was Denver, I believe. So that's another.
Everybody wants to go to Denver. And I'm sure part of it is Elway. I mean, the lure of what Elway can give you in terms of insight.
Well, and Denver has a good team. They just don't have a quarterback. They already got. I mean, you plug a good quarterback in Denver.
I don't want to see him in the West. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that. I already got to deal with Mahomes. I don't need to see that. That would just be more than I got to deal with Mahomes, and I got to deal with the kid down in San Diego who's showing his now. So
Justin Herbert.
Yeah. Again, I know Derek Carr. I mean, is it Derek?
Yeah.
They're all blended together now.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a change at quarterback. I'm ready for some winning ways out of my silver and black. But to put Deshaun now, I would take Deshaun. What about that? Deshaun Watson for Derek Carr.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that deal if I was Houston. I mean, I wouldn't let you pay me to take Derek Carr.
Hey man, hey.
Which is it's really not fair.
That's a little aggressive.
It's really not fair because it's I don't get him. Not to get off subject, but I don't get him because he can have games where he is just magical. He's on fire, and then he comes back to reality hard. He hits the ground hard.
He's an MVP caliber quarterback, to be sure. He's shown that. What I've seen in him that I struggle with is winning time.
Yeah,
like this winning time decisions, and it's off schedule. It's so that, and I don't know, you can't coach that. That just is in you or not. But his off schedule decision making and winning moments, you're just like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So he's very conservative when you need a play. Mm-hmm. And that's what I struggle with. And now those are the things that you see out of the Vince Youngs of the world, the Deshaun Watson, the Lamar Jacksons, the Pat Mahomes. Like, they just make winning plays when they have to be made. Mm-hmm. You can't coach that in a guy.
Right. That's true.
So
that's true.
Great pivot point. We have been fortunate to partner with DAPTIME 2R1. Samira Jacobs is a longtime partner with us. This young teenage entrepreneur has developed all organic, all natural bath and beauty products. Her bath bombs and body scrubs are amazing. And I encourage you to check out her website. Everything in the catalog is under $10. and worth the sample size. If you've got children, your children will love the Babe because they're fun products. He makes these things like cupcakes and malts, flowers. They're great arrangements. But if you're adults and you just want something a little different, body scrubs are phenomenal. No synthetic oils, no colorings, no inorganic products. All natural ingredients go into making anything. So I definitely encourage you to check them out. www.yatsun.com. 2R1. Big day, main event. Here we go. This week, Simone Biles became the latest to step out of competition for mental health reasons. Recently, we saw Naomi Osaka do that. In the most recent season of the NBA, Kevin Love talked about his battle with mental health as well. We've seen football players end their careers early, citing mental health in the last couple of seasons. Mental health has just moved to the forefront of the conversation around professional athletes and athletes in general. So I think this is a great topic for the main event, just seeing this wave of concern. Do you believe that the circumstance of what it is to be an athlete in the spotlight today, be that collegiate, amateur, or professional, is so great that we're seeing this increased wave of it? Or is there something else at play that we're not aware of?
I think there's a couple things going on. I think definitely, we talked. It's interesting because you didn't see this, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You didn't see, Jordan didn't, Pippen didn't say, "Hey, Jordan, I can't do it tonight." I got my mental health is not. I got to tend to myself. I got to love on me this week. You didn't get that, right? You didn't get that. I didn't see that really anywhere. But also something interesting that I thought about, we watched The Last Dance back at the height of the pandemic. The Last Dance came out. Everybody watched it. It was a great series. But one thing that I noticed in it was when I thought back to growing up watching Jordan play, what was his persona? How was he viewed as an individual at that time? Everybody loved him. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Everybody wanted a pair of Jordans. He was the darling, right? Well, when The Last Dance comes out, you're able to see some of the behind the scenes stuff. You're able to get a glimpse of what kind of teammate was he really? What kind of person was he really just walking around? And I think had people seen that when he was playing, I think it would have shifted people's view. I think if he was able to read comments and see what people thought of him at that time, it may have changed his view. You know what I mean? So I have to concede that I do think social media is probably just social media in general is probably a driving factor in it, because I think you have people who you're seeing everything they do all the time, right? 19, 20 years old. I'm glad to this day. I'm thankful that there was no social media when I was in high school, growing up, in college and stuff like that. Not because I was a bad kid, but I don't need anybody holding stuff over my head and look at you and, judging every move I make. And even some of these pro athletes, you're 22, 23, 24, 25 years old. You've got more money than anybody, and you might make a mistake or two. And that's broadcast. That's always going to be bigger and louder than the positive things that you do, the houses that you build for the homeless, the people that you feed, the people that you take care of. That will never make it big. But the mistake you make, that'll go everywhere. So I think that's one of the driving factors. And then at the same time, it goes both ways. The athlete, I'm sure they probably read a lot of these comments. And if you get caught up in that, now your identity is being played with by some cat living in his mama's basement eating chips. You know what I mean? A troll. You know what I mean? So right. It happens. And so I really think that's a big driving factor, because you just didn't see this like 30 years ago. You didn't hear about it, at least, or maybe people just didn't pay attention. I don't know, but I don't remember hearing it happen this much. back then. So I think social media is probably the culprit.
It's interesting to me because I think it's a combination. I agree with you. I think social media is a culprit, but I also see. I remember seeing the Magic and Bird 30 for 30. And they talked about doing, I think it was a 7-Up or a Converse commercial that they filmed at Larry's house, right? And so, they talked about this, going and doing it. Now, every piece of everyone is for sale. It seems like, if you can pick up $1 for your socks, you pick up $1 for your socks. If you can pick up $1 for your wristband, you pick up $1 for your wristband. You can get $1 for your sneakers, your necklace, the car you drive, the pants you wear when you're not on the court, I bank with, bank of the century, and you bank with, bank of the decade. And, everybody's got a dollar to give you to help them peddle their product. And I think the demands, it's not enough that you just play your sport. It's not just what's related to your sports. I don't know that the savvy to know when to say no before it's too much is there. And because, people go through this stuff. So I'm okay. I've got my mental health issue, and you kind of back away, which you should do. Take care of you. But then it's like when you re-engage, you got to have these athletes now need a team. You need people fielding that and ordering that around you. Because if you're not careful, in addition to the demands and responsibilities you have to the team you play for, in addition to the demands that you have to your family, in addition to the demands you have to now your endorsers and your sponsors, oh, by the way, I got 3 million followers. Well, if you got 3 million followers, there's at least 30,000 people in there who they're ready to critique everything you do. They're ready to tell you when you're wrong, right? They follow you because I got turned on because of this thing. But the minute you express an opinion or a point of view that is inconsistent with what they view, now you hear in one afternoon 30,000 messages that you don't like, that may affect you, because now you have to question, is this how I'm perceived? And it can throw your whole thing out of whack. You do a commercial supporting and endorsing a brand that 30,000 people don't like. Well, they can communicate that direct to you now. And then they communicate, each of those 30,000 maybe has 500, 1,000, 10,000 people that they follow. So that 30,000 now is magnified into 1 million. That's a lot, bro. That is a lot. And I think that so much of innovation, people got hooked on this is dope, and then don't find out till later, oh, this is the consequence. And we're so far into it now, that we're starting to see the effects of it. Right. How do you think, and I don't even know, I mean, how do you think we get out of this? Do we get out of this? So this is now something that we now have to factor into being an athlete in the spotlight.
I think it's going to take individuals are going to have to be disciplined. I mean, it's like you said, I think it's still fairly new, kind of, for everybody. So I think as the athletes, and you look at the athletes now, if they're 24 or under, they've grown up on this pretty much. So you were born into a world with MySpace, at least at minimum, right?
Right.
So it's kind of in their DNA, so to speak. But like you said, you have it, you do it, and then you realize later, ooh, too much of this is bad. You know what I mean? If I don't set parameters, if I don't give myself rules, it's like partying. You're in college, it's cool. Partying is, don't go out on Friday night, go on Saturday night, that's cool. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself out from Thursday through Sunday night. And then if you're not careful, well, they got a special thing on Monday night, and then Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, and then Wednesday wings. and at the bar, and then
And before you know it, you're one of the Banderos brothers.
here we are. It's Thursday again, right? So I think everything in moderation, right? And I think eventually, I think people are understanding that now. That's one of the things we're understanding now. But I think eventually you will see athletes who understand and put it in the proper perspective. Because the thing about it too is, it's just like making money. People have realized I can make money with social media. I don't just have to get on here and just say stuff. More people are starting to use it to make money. They're using it to gain a following, push their merchandise, create content, what have you. They're using it for that reason now. And I think a lot of these athletes don't even handle their own social media. They have a team. They have a social media person that does that for them. I think you will start to see more athletes go that route, distance themselves from it, because it is very unhealthy to just take all of that in. I mean, you're dealing with some truly unstable people. You don't know who these people are. I mean, a lot of the fans and the people that you're interacting with, you have no idea who they are. And to just take in their energy, reading comments and go, it'll drive anybody crazy, right? So I get it, but I think to get out of it, it's going to take setting rules and setting parameters in that area, as pertains to social media.
Do you think that this is I mean, maybe because we haven't seen. I mean, Naomi Osaka is a big star. Mm-hmm. Simone Biles, a big star on a major stage. Mm-hmm. But do you think it's going to take it to affect someone even bigger?
Who, like a LeBron or something?
Yeah, like if we had a LeBron James or someone of that magnitude say, I need to step away. I'm not going to play this postseason because I need to protect my mental health.
Well, I don't know that will force anybody to change social media. I think it would definitely force a lot more people to look into this mental health thing and say, "Oh, look, wait a minute. Let's really look at this and what is causing this." Because I don't think right now people are. I don't know if people are really honest with the fact that social media can be linked to mental health disorders and things of that nature. It can be a trigger. I don't know that people really believe that.
But what about the overall? I mean, because I think I certainly am of the mind that you are. I think social media is a contributing factor. Mm-hmm. But I think the system as a whole. I mean, we just read an article. High school student. I think the guy is 15 years old, has 2 years left in high school, mm-hmm. signs a deal with representatives mm-hmm. now to take advantage of the fact that he has control of his likeness. I think he's the number one high school basketball player in the country, uh-huh. and he's already signed with an agency to represent him mm-hmm. And his interest. So now you're getting in that money train early. I think I think there's so much more put on athletes earlier in their career when the signs of promise are spotted than were. Listen, you used to, when we were coming up, you could play high school ball and you had a very good shot of going from high school to college on a scholarship. Mm-hmm. If you're good enough, you could at least make Division II, mm-hmm. right? Now, if you're a basketball player or a baseball player, especially, soccer, I would put in that boat, mm-hmm. hockey, mm-hmm. you've got to be on some sort of AAU or traveling squad to really increase the chance and likelihood that you're going to get a scholarship. If you're just playing high school ball, you have to be at the top of the game, mm-hmm. and you're probably looking at most likely Division II. Division III, small conference. But if you're going to go to one of the majors, you got to be on an AAU squad. Right. Football, you can still go high school because of all that's required there. And there really isn't. You don't have an AAU outlet, but you got to go to camps.
Right. You
got to be at the top of the game to get to increase the likelihood that you're on somebody's radar. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. The student athlete as we knew it has changed so much. And like so much of society, I don't know that the system has progressed to support the student athlete to be well, because you're starting to think about your earning potential at 12 and 14.
Well, what's interesting about that though is I can remember people getting scholarships, colleges reaching out to kids at 12 and 13. There was one guy, I can't remember his name, but I can remember certain basketball players like 6'7" at 13 years old, and they already got a scholarship offer from LSU or whatever. It was a kid.
Right.
It was a kid. It was years ago, but I mean, but so they were doing that then. I mean, it's not everybody. It's not rampant like it is now, but they were out there.
But that was so rare though.
It
I mean,
was.
those were exceptional.
It was. But my point is, it happened. So now the difference is you have a kid who's 15 who's like, okay, I'm in 10th grade now, or whatever the case may be. I only got a couple more years. And I can make money in college now. So yeah, I need to get with a management team. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but to your point, I agree. I don't know that the system has pieces in place to make sure that these kids understand what's going on and kind of ease them into the process. You know what I mean? Do they have counselors available? Do they have symposiums where they kind of come around to the different schools and let us talk to your athletes and kind of let them know how the landscape has changed, what to expect these days, what they can do to help themselves and make life easier for themselves. So,
well, I mean, I don't even think they have the ability to reason that out, though, which is why they have to have that's why I'm saying the whole game is rigged in a way that if you're 12 or 14, let's say you're 14 years old, you're a great basketball player.
yeah,
people are coming to you. Okay, I'm going to control my image. But what does that mean? You're more than likely going, I mean, just to get out of high school, to get the grades,
mm-hmm.
to get out of high school, to have a high school education,
mm-hmm.
you still got to do school. Mm-hmm. So you need to rely on your team to handle your business. These documents, these contracts, these legal contracts, you have to have an attorney overseeing that. You need someone who understands the business to tell you all the implications. So you got to have trust. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, you're relying on whoever your handlers are in your inner circle. So it could be, if you're fortunate, a parent, family member, someone of that nature mm-hmm. that's bringing this person to you. But you don't know until stuff starts going wrong what your signature on a line means. Mm-hmm. And so the demands, like you're still a kid, you're still learning the game, you're still enjoying playing, you're still kind of, your dream is still there. But it just so happens that maybe you can make your $1 million or more through college for the 1 year you go, or you have these opportunities. And the business people, they get paid off you getting paid. And since they only get a percentage, the more you work, the more their dreams are fed. Right. So they're going to work you. Right. And now you realize a year into it, oh man, I'm working for them. And I haven't even got to where my ultimate goal is. And oh, by the way, if I have an injury, yeah, you're going to have to get that surgery. We need to get it taken care of. Right. You see what I'm saying? Like I just see the carnage, that the potential carnage that's left on the road for every kid that is going to go down this road that doesn't make it, because there are those stories too. You know what I mean? We see too many of them that, man, what happened to that guy? What happened to that guy? Oh man, after that injury, never bounced back, never came. I mean, Maurice Clarett, his freshman year was the second coming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and he didn't have the opportunities that these kids have today. Right. But he'll tell you out of his own mouth, he needed to grow up. He needed the maturity. He needed time to develop. And he was on a grand stage because, and part of his issues were coming from the system. Right. Because there are people in the system who just don't like the fact that you have the power that you do. Yeah. And when you take the liberties you do, I mean, go back and look at that the Tressel, the Youngstown boys, 30 for 30, where you see the behind the scenes of how the director, the AD for Ohio State, just took liberties, making life miserable for this guy when you're in charge as an administrator to help him make the next step.
Well, and I think that's the problem. So look at that. That was 20 years ago, almost. Um, and here's a guy who, instead of looking at it like, here's my star player, he's 18 years old, a true freshman. He was playing in high school last year, literally. And me and him aren't seeing eye to eye. He's being a little bullish with me. And me as the adult, instead of saying, I'm the adult, let me go talk to him. This might be a cry for help. Instead of showing the maturity to see what that really is and saying, let me see if I can sit down and talk with him and see what he might need. You know what I mean? I'm going to fight back, right? Now I'm going to push back because I don't like you and you don't like me. So this is just what it's going to be. You had that then. So you still have that now. You know what I mean? And I think what's unfortunate is, as you know, my daughter runs AAU track. There's a lot of competition in the AAU track and field, but there's a lot of. I mean, some of these parents take it very seriously. Some of these coaches take it very seriously. I mean, it can get crazy. But what's sad to me is when I see kids who don't have parents in their corner. You know what I mean? Because that's what I mean. It's the same thing 20 years ago with Claret. He had his mom, but I mean, it's going to fall on the parents to keep these kids together, to hold these kids together, and to try to get them the tools. Because, I hate to say it, but I don't think the system is ever going to do it. I don't think it was designed to do it. I don't think they know how to do it. So, I don't know that that's ever going to come. I don't know that any tools are ever going to arise to help these athletes, be better and be well.
Well, that's why I think, when we talk, we hear this is kind of brings this whole show full circle. Mm-hmm. The reason that media has to hold athletes accountable and spotlight things like white privilege is because you have to keep the conversation alive. You can't afford to let people get lulled into a false sense of security that, oh no, we made the strides. Not a big deal anymore. It's not, you got to hold those things out there because more than likely, a lot of our kids are not coming from homes where they have that support. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Some of our best athletes, when you hear their story, they're running to have power in their house. Mm-hmm. They're dribbling to be able to have indoor plumbing that works, and not have street sewage in there. They're sprinting so that they can put their whole family under one roof mm-hmm. that's paid for and not be bounced around or sleeping out of cars. They're real issues that they're facing. And so, when they get in a situation where they're finally able to take that leap and take the burden off the people who've sacrificed so much, who've worked night jobs, 2 jobs, and took every little odd job just so that they could get shoes or the right equipment or pay for tournament fees and things like that. They're ready to reward those people because they can't see them do 2 more years of that. And someone says, well, I hear you, but the boosters are banking on the next 2 years, what we're going to have in this program. And they're holding up their $500,000 donation. Mm-hmm. They're holding up their $50,000 donation. They're holding, and that kind of stuff is at play. And so because I care more about the booster, I'm going to need you to stay in school. I'm going to need you to forego this issue. I'm going to need you to do this. Meanwhile, but if you play along, we can overlook this little indiscretion and we know that was a mistake and we'll sweep that under the rug. If you don't, we're going to throw you out there to the wolves. And that's when our kids find out that all the things they signed had all these other strings that weren't seen. And that's what I'm hoping we can start changing. So again, bringing it full circle. If you don't hold the Aaron Rodgers accountable, if you don't even make the statement that this is white privilege, he should be able to go get his money because that's the way the rules are. If you don't do it, then people get lulled into false insecurity, and then you end up with a Deshaun Watson mm-hmm. who thinks, oh, this has happened for these quarterbacks. Well, I'm a quarterback. I should be able to do this. Nope. Mm-hmm. And now he's living his Maurice Claret story. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? And now you've got our athletes on a major stage in their moment, their shining moments, having to pull out because they've got mental health issues. And I think we're just beginning to see the wave of that. Because when you look at Naomi Osaka was outspoken about social issues.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing her civil duty to use her platform responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
And in preparation for a tournament said, hey, I got to step back. Mm-hmm. What's that about? Right. Simone Biles, they're running her out on every ad, McDonald's, Visa, Mickey Mouse, everybody who was sponsoring the Olympics had a Simone Biles commercial. And now in the moment when she realizes, hey, I've got to compete, I've got to focus, this is going to take a lot. These circumstances all converge to, I got to step back from my mental health. And I think, going into this football season, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Which one of our NFL players is going to need to step away from mental health? I think we're beginning to see a wave. So with that, Big Dame, I think it's a wonderful point at which to step into one of my favorite segments, the championship rounds. What gem of wisdom do you have for us today?
It's interesting, man. Of course, this is the championship rounds. This is where the championship rounds, that's where the money is made. That's where the gold is shined. You know what I mean? That's where champions are built. So this one, man, it's funny, man. It just came to me just now as you were finishing up. I was prepared with something else, but this one sounds a little better because it goes along with what we were talking about with mental health and with just athletes juggling so much. You know what I mean? You have this gift, but then you have all this other stuff going on, and I think the struggle is, where do I focus? Where do I put my focus? What do I look at? What do I pay attention to? And what better place to get the championship rounds from than the good book? And there's a piece in the good book that says your gift will make room for you. Your gift will make room for you. And I think a lot of time, needless to say that mental health is very serious, and I'm glad that it's a focal point these days, and it's not being overlooked like it once was. But I think that one place where anybody that feels like they may be getting overwhelmed, one thing you can pay attention to is you can look at your gift, whatever your gift is, whatever you do well. There's some people who were just gifted with certain abilities, right? Mm-hmm. Be it talking, be it thinking, be it running, be it shooting a basketball, throwing a football. I mean, don't look at people that play sports and just say, they're just athletes. That's a gift. That's a gift to be able to run as fast as Sha'Carri Richardson runs. You know what I mean? That's a gift to be able to do what the swimmer Michael Phelps was able to do in the pool. That's a gift. You know what I mean? Everybody's not built like that. Everybody can't do that. So, but at the same time, their gift made room for them, right? It put them in places that normally they wouldn't go. They ended up on the national stage because of their gift. They ended up on the world stage because of their gift. Their gift made that space available for them. So I think at any time that, as we move into an era of social media, we're in an era of social media, a globalized world that we live in now, I think it's always important to remember the most important thing is the gift. That's the way you put your focus. That's where you pay attention to. That's where you put your time and your energy into, because that's what's making room for you in the first place. So when McDonald's comes and Hertz Rent-A-Car comes and Dollar Rent-A-Car comes and Mickey Mouse comes and Donald Duck comes and everybody else comes and they all want a piece, you have to take a step back and you have to evaluate and you have to say, okay, I have to compete. So my focus needs to be on my gift. Now, after I focus on my gift, what do I have left over that I can give Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, McDonald's, and whomever else? And if you don't have anything for them, then you don't have anything for them. But you better take care of that gift, because that's what's going to make room for you. So just a little nugget for the day to take.
Man, I remember we originally talked about this months ago about, stop hoeing. We were talking about stop hoeing for athletes, like just stop prostituting yourself out. You're not a salesperson. That's not what you're, but people will turn you into one. They'll turn you into a trick so they can get $1. So I love that. That is a fantastic nugget to walk away with. As always, brother, the hammer dropped. Appreciate your wisdom, man, your insight, and the conversation. Pete Nice, thank you for always scratching on the break, dropping the needle on the one. And for you listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Game Time. Listen, Big Dame and I have kicked off the BAM series, Bold Authentic Manhood, over on DAPTIME Lifestyle. So keep an eye out for that. We are having some lively conversations, and this thing has just gotten underway. So tune into that if you're not already doing so. If you have not done it this episode and you catch us on YouTube, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you catch everything that we drop here on DAPTIME TV every time we do it. You can also follow us on all social media chat platforms as well. On Twitter, we're at DAP_time. On Instagram, we're at DAPTime21. And on Facebook, we're at DAPTime. But most importantly, make sure that you don't go there alone. Subscribe, bring a friend with you. Bring 5. Check us out on our website at www.itsdaptime.com. But whatever you do, make sure you, again, don't do it alone. Bring a friend. We will look forward to catching up with you next time. But until we do, we'll leave you as we always do. When you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, there is your competition. We out. Peace.